Hello and welcome to FM Tahiti, or I'm going to be all Tahitian about it, Yorana. Yorana being hello in Tahitian, so we're already learning, it's episode 2 and we are learning things. In this episode I'm just going to go through some of the leagues and cups just to give you an idea of how they all fit together, and then in the later episodes I'll create my manager, start applying for jobs and get on with the business of turning French Polynesia into a powerhouse. If you've no idea what any of this is about, have a look at the very first video. If you still have no idea what it's about, have a look at the blog, and if after that you still have no idea what it's about, use Twitter to ask me a question and I will try my best to make it a little bit clearer. So here we are in French Polynesia, in the leagues based within the Tahiti Societies, but Tahiti Societies are just one of the island nations within our kind of database. The league system is fairly straightforward. We have 4 leagues. So the very first league, as you can hopefully see here, is the French Polynesian Island Premiership. So 15 teams. Each team play each other twice, so 28 fixtures, league fixtures in the season, so a little bit shorter than some places. The team that is in 15th is automatically relegated. The team that is in 14th place goes into a relegation promotion playoff with the team that's in 2nd place in the league below. The team that's first wins the title, and 2 teams from this league can qualify for the OCL, the Oceania Champions League, the continental competition for this area of the world. Now, the teams that qualify for the Champions League, and the Champions League is the kind of route into where the money's going to come from. Not necessarily directly from the Champions League, but if you win the Champions League, then you get to play the Club World Championship. But to qualify for the OCL, it's not simply a case of finishing in 1st or 2nd, or finishing in 1st and winning the kind of FA Cup, or the version of the FA Cup we've got here. Because of the way the league is worked out and the way the dates work for setting up the OCL, what actually happens is whichever team is in whichever teams are in 1st and 2nd place around about the start of January, so it's about the 7th or 8th of January when the OCL is kind of drawn. Whoever's top of the table and in 2nd place of the table then gets entered into the OCL. And this is about halfway through the regular season for the Premiership. So it means you could have somebody in 1st and 2nd who then drops off later on, doesn't finish in 1st and 2nd, but still ends up playing in the OCL that year because the fixture's starting around about February. So basically everyone's fighting out for the 1st and 2nd place up until January, and then they get entered into the OCL. So it means that the league isn't going to be sewn up by the team always finishing 1st. It's not enough to finish 1st, you've got to be 1st at the right time. So it combines that kind of winning the league title might be a marathon, but qualifying for the OCL is a sprint. And because it's a sprint, it means some of the smaller teams might be able to try and sneak in and eventually get access to that wonderful, wonderful club championship money at the end of it all. Also, and this is probably the biggest reason why it's not whoever finishes 1st and 2nd at the end of the season, is I couldn't get that to work. I just couldn't get that to work. With all the edits and database changes, the standard qualification just wouldn't work. And if you've ever used the FM editor, you'll realise that trying to make sense of why things do and don't work when you start putting the advanced rules on is often very difficult. There's not much sense that goes on, you'll get random error messages that make absolutely no sense. So there we go. That's this league. We've got various awards set up, although you can't see them yet because they've not been given, so that's useful. If we go down into the next tier, so this is the 2nd tier, the French Polynesian Island Championship. Very similar in setup really to the Premiership, so the team that's 1st gets promoted. The team that's 2nd goes into that relegation promotion playoff with a team that's 2nd from bottom in the Premiership. 15 teams again, and the team that is in 15th place at the bottom goes into the relegation playoff. Just that double check that it's not automatic. So they go into that relegation playoff at the bottom, and they'll play off against the team that's top of the division below. And the division below is the start of the development league. So we've got 2 development leagues. The Under-23 Development Gold League, and then underneath that, the Under-23 Development Silver League. Now, the majority of the teams in these 2 leagues are Under-23 teams. Not all of them, but most of them are Under-23 teams to give them competitive domestic football. It should help develop and give match experience to the younger players. There are some senior teams in there, so if you see here, and I'll just go into the slightly bigger view, we have Noraruto, who are a team from an island penal colony. You've got the Reveve Jupiters, the Takaroa Terrors, the Turtangegi Wings, and the Tubai, or Tube Yua Lagunas. I'm going to settle on some pronunciations I'm going to use, even though I'm clearly butchering it. These are senior teams, they're just a bit smaller, so they've started here. They've got the opportunity to get into the championship and beyond. It just means they'll be swapping with a senior team, because these under-23 teams can't get promoted beyond this level. So if, for example, AS Papiti, who are a team, the under-23 team from one of the biggest cities in Tahiti, so in the actual Tahiti mainland, if they finish first, they won't get promoted to the championship. What will happen is the next highest placed senior team, so let's say the table stayed as it was, that would be Noraruto, who would go up instead. If we go down to the Silver League, same again, except we've just got 2 other full teams. We've got AS Chance and Vahanga Vines. AS Chance are a little bit weird in that they are an under-21 only team, so once a player gets to 22, they can't play for AS Chance anymore, so they'll be released normally or sold on. But they still count as a full senior team, and they play in a bigger stadium in a bigger city, and they're the only team with really good youth facilities. They're like the academy team for Tahiti, essentially. And then down here, the newest team that was added to this year's database, the Vahanga Vines. So they're one of the smaller teams. They've got a slightly smaller stadium than everyone else. Most of the teams, as mentioned before in the first video, have a stadium of about 500. There are a few here and there that are exceptions. So AS Chance have got a much bigger stadium because they play in the national stadium. Let me find another example. The Mangareva Shellfish play in a national stadium for which nation are they? I think they're Gambier. Yeah, so they're from the Gambier Islands. They play in the national stadium there. The Hiva Oa Dominica, the Gods as they're known, they play in the national stadium for the Marquesas Islands, and so on. There's a few that play in their sort of national stadiums, but for the most part, everyone else owns their own 500-seater. So those are the leagues. They go up and down. If a team gets relegated into the Gold League, and their under-23s are in the Gold League as well, their under-23s get pushed down into the Silver League as well, so they won't compete in the same level unless somehow they both get squashed into the Silver League, which I've not seen happen when I've tested it, but in theory it could, I guess. Those are the leagues. There's the French Polynesian Inter-Island Cup. This is basically the FA Cup for the French Polynesian teams. The top 32 teams are invited into it, so some of the smaller teams in the Gold and Silver Development Leagues will be too far down to be invited into this. It's only really for the top 2 divisions plus a couple of hanger-ons in the Gold League. There's not much prize money associated with any of the leagues, but there's a little bit. So if you're not getting into the Inter-Island Cup, that's one sort of revenue stream that's cut off for you. We've got the Polynesian Super Cup, which is just played between the winner of the Premiership and the Inter-Island Cup, so like a lot of Super Cups. We have some of the regional cups. So this regional cup is the Windward Isle Pride Trophy. and it is played between teams that are from Tahiti Societies, so from the nation of Tahiti, and they're the ones from the Windward Isles. So these are the islands around the windward side of the Tahiti mainland, plus the mainland itself. So there's 6 teams that play this. It's a group stage, and then the winners of the group play each other. Then we've got the Leeward Isle Pride Trophy, and this is for the teams that are on the leeward side of the Tahiti mainland, and from the Tahiti kind of nation, and they play in a more kind of traditional sort of cup knockout system. Then we've got the Mutineer Pride Trophy. So 12 teams are in this kind of 2 groups, with the top of each group fighting it out in the final. The Mutineer Pride Trophy is for teams from the Bass Islands, the Austral Islands, the Gambier Islands, and the Tuamotun Islands. Those 4 sort of more fringe island nations. They're the ones that each contribute the fewest teams, so they all have about 3 or 4 teams maximum associated with their nation. So for example, Noraruto, Union Rematara, and the Ruraturu Humpbacks are all from the Austral Islands, and those are the only 3 teams from the Austral Islands. So it's a cup for the smaller island chains. And then we have the Marquesas Pride Shield for the teams from the Marquesas Island range. And there's 10 teams entered into this, so the Tahiti Societies nation have the most amount of domestic teams. Then the Marquesas Islands with 10, and then each of the other smaller nations have about 3 or 4 domestic teams associated with them. So in our long-term plans of being able to sort of take over the world and make an impact on the international stage, it'll be harder with teams like the Austral Islands or the Bass Islands because they've got fewer teams to work with, so they've got a smaller pool of players, and they probably won't actually be playable from the very start. We'll have to wait for a few youth intakes before we'll be allowed to take them over. Then we've got the Shield of Pride, and this is the final Senior Cup competition. So this is for the cup winners, essentially. This is a Cup Winners' Cup for the regional cups. So the winners of the Windward, the Leeward, the Mutineer, and Marquesas will play each other for the Shield of Pride. So it's the ultimate bragging rights domestically. So it's not just a case of being the best of your island chain, it's being better than the rest of the other island chains. All of these regional ones and the Shield of Pride don't have a huge amount of reputation associated with them. So if you keep winning the Mutineer trophy over and over again, for example, you're not suddenly going to become the greatest manager French Polynesia, because there's just not that much prestige attached to it. It's just really for bragging rights. And then we've got the Youth Cup. So just for the under 23 teams to play against each other. Standard sort of knockout Youth Cup. So those are the cup competitions, or the domestic cup competitions, I should say. If we look nationally, or internationally, I should say, we've got Tahiti Societies, we've got the Marquesas Islands, the Gambier Islands, Tuamotun Islands, Austral and Bass Islands, so they're all competing and rivals against each other. They all play each other at the start of every season in the Polynesian Atoll Championship. And again, they just play each other once, and whoever's top wins bragging rights for that year, and that takes place just before the season starts, or just as the season starts. So sometimes teams lose a player for the first game or 2 of the season. Partly just to give them bragging rights against each other, but also because in previous versions of this database, international management was quite difficult because they hardly ever sacked their managers. Because all they were ever really playing was the World Cup qualifiers or the Oceania Nations League. And if expectations were low, they'd go a couple of years, not do very well, but survive and not get sacked. Whereas with this, even though it's not a huge trophy, it doesn't carry a huge amount of reputation, but it just means there's something they're being judged against every year, which means there's more opportunity to try and get into international management. And also gives them more practice. Make sure we don't have to always rely on the AI to actually set up good friendlies and things for the teams to test themselves with. It makes sure that every season they're playing each other, getting a good kind of a idea of each of the strengths. And if we look at the sort of rankings, you can see Austral Isles 196, Gambier 190, Tuamotun 168, Bass 206, Tahiti 155. So they're the highest as they start. Going to have to try and get them all a lot higher, get them all to be a lot better. And it's going to be difficult because if we have a look at some of the teams, if you look at some of the players, so let's go to Bora Bora. So good they were named twice. So Bora Bora in the Premiership. If you look at the players, I've taken attribute masking off just for this bit so I can show you what they're like. Let's have a look at Jesse Grandjean. This is the standard player. He's actually quite a good player in this database. Looking at his stats. So we're looking at maybe Vanarama regional quality at best. They're not all as good as this. Let's see, look at this. Flicking through. That's one of the grey players, but see, you see they can do a few things well, but not lots. They're very kind of specialised. And it's the same for other teams. If we go through to the Eels, or the Huahine Islanders, Jude Tardy, good. Tony Thulier. So you kind of get the idea. There's not a huge amount of amazing players. If we go to Mahisha, because I quite like Mahisha, their key player is Thomas Rault. That's what they're working with. He's their most important player. And there's not a great deal going on there. So you can see it's going to take a while to bring the quality of the squad up. So what I'm going to go away and do now is I'm going to shut this down, start the database all over again, take attribute masking off, so these players won't exist. They're going to sort of digitally die. And then in the next episode, I'm going to put my manager together and go through that. Thanks for watching. Have a look at the blogs, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff if you're enjoying it. Thanks very much.